Right now, caution tape surrounds the home of the man who's suspected of a deadly mass shooting across multiple locations last night in Maine. I'm Shayna Humphreys. The manhunt continues for the suspect, Robert Card. He is accused of killing at least 18 people and wounding 13 others in Lewiston, Maine. Here's what we know right now. An arrest warrant has been issued for Card for 8 counts of murder so far. The FBI, ATF, and DHS are all involved in the search. Police say he is armed and dangerous. Tonight, residents in the area are still being asked to shelter in place. Let's discuss the latest now with University of Michigan professor Javid Ali, who has previously worked for the FBI and Homeland Security. Now, Javid, our viewers may be familiar with you. You've joined us a number of times, and you're typically weighing in on international politics and what's happening in Israel right now. So can we start by, can you tell us a little bit about your background in security and intelligence?
Yeah, well, thanks for having me on again. And unfortunately, it seems to be I'm appearing in the media often these days just based on these tragic events happening. So my career in Washington, D.C. was spent in the intelligence community, but focused on counterterrorism issues, both at home and abroad. So I had the privilege of working in places like the Department of Homeland Security for a few years after the stand-up of the department in 2003. And then from there, I joined the FBI in 2007 and spent the bulk of my federal career in the FBI as a senior counterterrorism analyst, and then had other jobs while on detail from my FBI job to include a year on the National Security Council in the Trump administration, focused on counterterrorism as well.
Okay, so big picture security. What do you make of this specific situation out of Maine? It seems, unfortunately, all of us are very familiar at this point with these mass shootings, and it seems like most of the time the shooter is either quickly apprehended or even killed. What goes into the investigation and a manhunt like this when the suspect, at least for now, has gotten away?
Yeah, these manhunts are very difficult, and they take an enormous amount of resources, as we're all learning right now. This is not only a multi-state investigation, but the federal resources are pouring in as well, to include FBI personnel from different parts of FBI and the organization. So in the past, just this year alone, we've had other manhunts. If your viewers remember the one from the prison break in Pennsylvania, and then there was one from a mass shooter in Texas. So these usually take several days, if not longer. Now, on the other end, there have been fugitives who conducted attacks, maybe not mass shootings, but smaller scale attacks. So a person named Eric Rudolph from the mid 90s. And once he escaped in 1996 after the Atlanta bombings, if your viewers remember that, he wasn't found till 2003. And he stayed in roughly the same general area in North Carolina, but it was heavily wooded and forested and potentially the same kind of geography and terrain that's facing investigators and the teams now trying to find Card, and we're only 24 hours into it. I'm not saying it's going to take 7 years to find him, but again, that's an extreme end of how one person can elude this significant dragnet where an enormous amount of people are trying to find them. And just because it's a single person and they can hide, it can be very, very difficult.
And is it that much more challenging when, as you mentioned, this is a rural area? We're hearing they're searching forests and waterways and very small towns. This is also an area that the suspect is reportedly very familiar with. Generations of his family have lived here. So how much does that complicate this search effort?
Yeah, that could be an issue here. But at the same time, if he tries to fall back into his family network or the community that he's aware, that's the first thing the investigators are going to look at. So that would probably not be where you're going to find him. But what's more concerning with him, based on what we're learning, is that he apparently was a firearms instructor, a U.S. Army Reserve. So he had a significant amount of capability, which he unfortunately showed in the mass shootings. And so this is someone who's not only a mass shooter, but is already a very capable and dangerous person. And now we're also hearing reports that he was having mental health issues as well. So you combine all those things, the capability he already possessed with the unbalanced nature of his mind, which clearly allowed him to go in and conduct these attacks. And this is a very, very dangerous person. And so no one knows, will he choose to shoot it out if he still has weapons on his possession with law enforcement, if they can circle in? Will he try to surrender? Will he just try to um, remain undetected for as long as he can? All of those are possibilities here.
Yeah, what's the scope of this look like? We've already seen the caution tape around the home. As you mentioned, authorities may be talking with people he knew. How far and wide are they looking at this point, or do you think it's still very much focused in that rural area near Lewiston, Maine?
Well, you want to go as wide as you can, and that's why talking to family and friends and coworkers can help give you a sense as to how far out you need to go. But not only are investigators talking to people, they are going to be looking at the electronic evidence on his phone, computer, social media. If he had a social media presence, there's got to be surveillance footage they're looking at. And now they're probably trying to use aerial surveillance and drones. So you're trying to layer, or the investigators are probably trying to layer in all these different aspects to come up with a very multifaceted intelligence and information picture, because you can't rely on one stream of information alone. And that's what it takes, all these different streams working together. And then who is going to be managing all those different streams and trying to figure out where the best clues to send people. And sometimes you think you have a good clue, and then you send a lot of folks to go run something down, and it turns out to be sort of a dead end or a dry hole. So that may happen too, but an enormous amount of effort and planning is underway already as we speak. And then there's also a tactical side to this, and that's why there are probably SWAT teams, both at the state and local level there. FBI offices also have SWAT teams. I don't know if the hostage rescue team has been mobilized for the FBI, which is the FBI's premier tactical response element. So there's a lot that could be brought to bear, even to find one person
Yeah.
as dangerous and capable as Card is.
And that he is. We can only hope he is captured soon without anybody else being hurt. Javid Ali, professor of practice at U of M's Ford School of Public Policy. Thanks so much for joining us today, Javid.
All right, thank you.